Good morning, everyone. Today, we're diving into the nature of taxation. I am Marica Ortiz Ramirez, a pre-service teacher. I'll be guiding you through this concept. Taxes are the lifeblood of the government. For without taxes, the government can neither exist nor endure. A principal attribute of sovereignty, the exercise of taxing power, derives its source from very existence of a state whose social contract with its citizens obliges it to promote public interest and common good. The theory behind the exercise of the power to tax emanates from necessity. Without taxes, government cannot fulfill its mandate for promoting the general welfare and well-being of the people. Benefits received principle. The taxes payers receive benefits from taxes through the protection the state affords to them. For the protection they get arises their obligation to support the government through payment of taxes. Doctrine of symbiotic relationship. So the state gives protection, and for it to continue giving protection, it must be supported by the taxpayers in the form of taxes. So taxation arises because of reciprocal relation of protection and support between the state and taxpayers. So the principle of a sound tax system are following. First is the fiscal adequacy, which means that the sources of revenue should be sufficient to meet the demands of public expenditures. Next, equality of theoretical justice, which means that the tax burden should be proportionate to the taxpayer's ability to pay. This is so-called ability to pay principle. Next is the administrative feasibility, which means that the tax law should be capable of convenience, just, and effective administration. So the double taxation occurs when it is during the same taxing period. So it is prohibited when it is an imposition of taxes on the same subject matter. So it is permissible if the taxes are of different nature or character, or the two taxes are imposed by different taxing authorities. Tax scheme. So the tax scheme means a transaction where a taxpayer made it appear that there were two sales of the property was considered. Tainted with fraud. So the sole purpose of acquiring the transferring title of the property on the same day was created the tax shelter. So on the to the same to Master Bell on my questionnaire was to mislead the BIR on the higher corporate income tax. So the tax planning scheme adopted by Hilltown Corporation constitutes tax evasion. Next, Section 6B of the NIRC authorized the commissioner to assess the property tax due to due from a taxpayer when he believes that the report the taxpayer submitted is false. So the same provision authorized the commissioner to amend the return from his own knowledge. So, and from such information he can obtain through testing or otherwise, which is deemed prima facie sufficient for the legal purposes. So the inherent limitation on the power of our taxation is for a public purpose. So it means that the government is objectified to promote the welfare of the community. It means that the public must support what does the public doing the state is in now. So there's a taxation that the government must promote welfare to the community. The purpose of the taxation is to have um, to have to have benefits, to have equal opportunities to attend like that. So taxation is inherently legislative. Only the legislature has a full discretion as to person, property, occupation, or business to be taxed, provided these are all in the state's territorial jurisdiction. It can also finally determine the amount of rate tax, the kind of tax to be imposed, and the method of collection. Next is taxation is territorial. So when we say taxation is territorial, it means that taxing authority may determine the place of taxation. So you have the 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 right to amend within the given place to determine the day of taxation. Taxation is subject to internationally committee. So it means that um, there are a lot of um, recognized state the general accepted. So we must have to equally among states and their freedom from suit with their consent. So we must properly hold the capability or the capacity to maintain the harmonious and productive relationships among the various states. So according to Republic Act 10701, it is valid and constitutional. So valid because um, it is not unconstitutional because it is not intrinsically equal and uniform in its operation. So uniformity of taxation is very crucial and it's very important because it requires to be classified and have privileges and liabilities. So there are types of classifications does not prevent uniformity as long as it is the standard that are used thereof the substantial and not. The categorized is germane to achieve the legislative purpose. The law applies all things being equal to both present and future conditions, and the classification applies equally well to all those belonging to the same class. So all the foregoing requirements of a valid classification having been met, and these which are singled out are a class in themselves, the violation of the equal protection clause, constitutional. So under section 217 of the LGC, real property shall be classified. So valued and assessed of the basic of its actual use regardless of where located, whoever owns it and whoever uses it are related and complementary provision in section 234 of the LGC, which provides that a real property owned by the Republic of the Philippines or any of its political subdivisions is exempt from realty taxes, except when the beneficial use thereof is granted for consideration or otherwise taxable persons. Rational basis test. The rational basis test is applied to gauge the constitutional of the assailed law in the face of an equal protection challenge. It has been held that in areas of social and economic policy, a stationary classification that neither proceed along suspect lines nor infringes constitutional rights must be upheld against equal protection. Challenges if there is any reasonably conceivable state of facts that could provide a rational basis for classification. Under the rational basis test, it is sufficient that the legislative classification is rationally related to achieving some legitimate state interest. So there are two taxable period. We have fiscal period and a short period. So fiscal period is an individual taxpayer can adopt either the calendar or fiscal period for purposes of filing his income tax return. So when we say short period, an individual taxpayer can adopt either the calendar or fiscal period for purposes of filing his income tax return. So the actual of income and expense is permitted when all of the events test has been met. So the test requires first is fixing of a right to income or liability to pay. Next is the ability of the reasonable accurate determination of such income or liability. According to Section 23 of NIRC defines gross income as all income derived from whatever source. So it means gross incomes derived from whatever source of work, source of anything, source of money. Consequently, the flow of wealth without any distinction as to the lawfulness of its source. So, it's subject to income tax. In other words, the phrase income from whatever source disclose a legislative policy to include all income not expressly excepted with this of taxable income under the law. In computing the capital gains tax, a final tax of 6% based on the gross selling price or current fair market value, whichever is higher shall be imposed. In this case, the basis of the tax is 6 million. So the gross selling price being higher than 2.5 million, the fair market value of the residential house. So nevertheless, if within 30 days from the date of sale, or Mr. Ben notifies commissioner. So from the questionnaires there are these concepts you can see. Next is it shall be tax exempt. So according to section 32 of the NIRC provides that any amount received by an official or employee or by his heirs from the employer as a consequence of separation of such official or employee from the service of the employer because of death, sickness, or other physical disability or any cost beyond the control of the said official employee shall be exempt from taxation. So again, the taxation will be exempted depend on the employee matter. Like for example, because of that, sickness or physical disability. Next, where payment is made as a result of the death of the insured. So, where the payment is made as a result of the death of the insured, so separation pay received by retiring employee under a voluntary retirement program of the corporate employer. Next, the effect of converting the 20% discount from a tax credit or tax deduction is that the tax benefit enjoyed by sellers of goods and services to senior citizens is effectively reduced. A tax credit reduces the tax liability, while a tax deduction merely reduces the tax base. So under the tax credit scheme, the establishments are paid back 100% of the discount they give to senior citizens, while under the tax deduction scheme, they are only paid back about 32% of the 20% discount granted to senior citizens. So a bad debt is deductible if it complies with the following requisites. So a bad debt is deductible if it complies with the following prerequisite. They must be valid and subsisting debt. The obligation is connected with the taxpayer's trade or business and is not between related parties. Next is there is an actual ascertainment that the debt is worthless. And fourth, the debt is charged off within the taxable year. A partial write-off is not allowed. Next, pursuant to RR number 1 to 2015 with amended RR number 298, R 98, 5 2008, 5 2011, and 8 2012, the following are considered de minimis benefits. So A, monetize unused vacation leave credits of private employees not exceeding 10 days during the year. Monetized value of vacation and sick leave credits paid to government officials and employees. Next, medical cash allowance to dependents of employees not exceeding 750 pesos per employee per semester or to 125 pesos per month. Rice subsidy of 1,500 pesos. Uniform and clothing allowance not exceeding 5,000 per annum. Actual medical assistance not exceeding 10,000 per annum. Laundry allowance not exceeding 300 per month. Employees achievement awards example for the length of service of safety achievement, which must be in the form of tangible personal property other than cash or gift certificate with an annual monetary value not exceeding 10,000 received by the employee under an established written plan which does not discriminate in favor of highly paid employees. Gifts made during Christmas and major anniversary celebrations not exceeding 5,000 per employee per annum. Daily meal allowance for overtime work and night graveyard shift not exceeding 25% of the basic minimum wage on the per region basis. Benefits received by an employee by virtue of a collective bargaining agreement and productivity incentive schemes, provided that the total monetary value received from both CM and productive incentive schemes combined do not exceed 10,000 per employee per taxable year. This fees is exclusive, and anything that is given which is not on the list shall not be considered de minimis. The 5% discount of purchase price of its product not being in this enumeration is subject to tax as well as to withholding tax on compensation. So the minimis benefits. So the minimis benefits are facilities and privileged furnished or offered by an employer to his employee, which are not considered as compensation subject to income tax and consequently to withholding tax if such facilities or privileges are of relatively small value and offered or furnished by the employer merely of means of promoting the faith, goodwill, contentment, or efficiency of his employees. The following shall be considered as Ministry's benefits: monetize unused vacation leave credits by private not exceeding 10 years. Again, I've discussed it a while ago. So BIR is strong in disallowing the deduction under Section 26 of the NIRC. A general professional partnership is exempt from income tax and thus cannot claim deductions. However, partners in a general professional partnerships are reliable in their separation and individual capacities for the payment of income tax computed on their distributive share of the general professional partnerships. Consequently, these partnerships may claim under Section 34 of the NIRC from their gross income. So, items to be included in gross estate. First, all the properties and interests enumerated in the problem should be included in the gross estate of the decedent. The composition of the gross estate of the decedent, who is citizen of the Philippines, includes all properties, real or personal, tangible or intangible, wherever situated, and to the extent of the interest that he has thereon at the time of his death. Next, the net taxable estimate of the decedent is 3.7 million. From the gross estate is 7 million. The following deductions are allowed: funeral expenses 200,000, which is the maximum allowed by law; legal fees among 500,000; medical expenses not to exceed 500,000 incurred 1 year prior to death and substantiated with receipts; claims against the estate 300,000; family home equivalent to its FMV not to exceed 1,800,000 and standard deduction of 1 million, or a total allowance deduction of 3.3 million. The claim against the cousin amounting of the 100,000, although includable in the gross estate, cannot be claimed as a deduction because the debtor is not yet declared insolvent. Likewise, the inherited property cannot give rise to the vanishing deduction for want of sufficient factual basis. Next, the tax return and the payment of the estate tax are both due within 6 months from death. The filing of the return is extendable for the maximum period of 30 days under meritorious cases, as may be determined by the CIR. Whereas the payment of the estate tax must also be extended when the CIR finds that the payment thereof would impose undue hardship upon the estate or any of the heirs. The period of extension to pay shall not exceed 5 years from death. If the estate is settled through the courts of shall not exceed 2 years from death. If settled extrajudicial, and CIR may require the executor or administrator or the beneficiary furnish a bond in an amount not more than double the amount of estate tax due. Next, if the renunciation in the general resignation in favor to co-heirs in accordance with their respective interests in the inheritance, the law on accretion applies and the property waived is considered to pass through the other co-heirs by inheritance. Hence, it is no tax implication. There is no donation of property because the property had never become the property of the donor. Such being the case, the renunciation is not subject to donor's tax. If it is not a general renunciation in favor of the other cohorts, and here renouncing his right is considered to have made a donation, and the renunciation is subject to donor's tax is the both cases. However, the renunciation has no tax implication to the other co-heirs. Inclusions from estate. In order that the claims against the estate may be deducted, the following are the requisites. The liability represents the personal obligations of the deceased existing at the time of his death, exempt unpaid obligation incurred incident to his death, such as unpaid funeral expenses and unpaid medical expenses. Next, the liability was contracted in good faith and for adequate and full consideration in money or money's worth. The claim must be a debt or claim which is valid in law and enforceable in court. The indebtedness must not have been condoned by the creditor, or the action to collect from the decedent must not have prescribed. In order to be entitled to a refund or tax credit of excess into input VAT attributable to zero-rated or effectively zero-rated sales, the following requisites must be complied with. Number one, the claim for refund must be filed with the commissioner within 2 years counted from the last day of the quarter when the zero-rated sale was made. Second, the claim for refund must be accompanied by a statement under oath that all documents to support the claim has been submitted at the time of filing of the refund. The commissioner must decide on a claim within 120 days from date of filing, and the adverse decision is appealable to the CTA within 30 days from receipt. Number 4, if no decision is made within the 120-day period, there is a deemed denial or adverse decisions which is appealable to the CTA within 30 days from the lapse of the 120-day period. So the procedure for claiming refunds of tax erroneously or illegally collected are the following. First, a written claim for refund must be filed with the commissioner within 2 years from date of payment of the tax. Number 2, a decision of the commissioner denying the claim is appealable to the CTA within 30 days from receipt thereof or within 2 years from the date of payment, whichever comes first, according to Section 229 and IRC Section 7A1 of Republic Act 1125 as amended by Republic Act 9282. If no decision is made by the commissioner, the amended taxpayer must consider the inaction of the denial annual. The CTA must be filed before the lapse of 2 years and from the date of payment, according to Section 229 and IRC. Next, the CTA at any stage of the proceeding may suspend the collection of taxes and require the taxpayer either to deposit the amount claimed or to file a surety bond for not more than double the amount with the CTA. The assessment notice is valid even if the taxpayer received the same after the 3-year period from the date of filing of the tax return, according to Section 203 NIRC BPIV CIR's GR number 139736 October 17, 2005. The FAN is valid. There is no legal requirement that the FAN should await to protest to the PAN because protest to the PAN is not mandatory. So, according to PR number 12-99 provides for the due process requirement in the issuance of the deficiency tax assessment pursuant to Section 228 of the NIRC under 311 or RR number 12-99. If the taxpayer is not amenable to the submitted report of investigation of the revenue officer, the taxpayer shall be informed by the BIR in writing of the discrepancies for the purposes, informal conferences in order to afford the taxpayer opportunity to present his side of the case. His failure to respond within 15 days from the date of the receipt of the notice for the informal conference would result in the issuance of PAN. Therefore, prior to the issuance of the PAN, the taxpayer is already given the opportunity to present his side. Although the same RR provides that the taxpayer is given 15 days to file a protest, his failure to do so, or the issuance by the BIR of the FAN before the expiration of the 15-day period, as in the given problem, shall not defeat on this right due to process. So, request for reconsideration. Plea for evaluation of assessment on the basis of existing records without need of presentations and additional evidence. It does not suspend the period to collect the deficiency tax. So, request for reinvestigation. Plea for re-evaluation of the basis of newly discovered evidences which are being introduced for examination for the first time. It suspends the prescriptive period to collect. The remedy of a taxpayer is to avail of either of two options. First is file a petition for review with the CTA within 30 days after the expiration of the 180-day period from submission of all relevant documents, or await the final decision of the Commissioner on the disputed assessment and appeal such final decision to the CTA within 30 days after receipt of a copy of such decisions. So these options are mutually exclusive. Suppliant resort to one bars the application of the others. Differentiate outright smuggling from technical smuggling. So what is outright smuggling? Outright smuggling refers to importation of goods and articles of commerce without the required importation documents, or are disposed of in local market without having been cleared by the Bureau of Customs or other authorized government agencies to evade the payment of taxes, duties, and other charges. So when we say technical smuggling, by contrast, refers to importation of goods and articles through fraudulent, falsified, or erroneous declared as to substantially reduce or avoid payment of correct taxable and other charges. Next slide is to distinguish compromise from abatement of taxes. So compromise is the remedy that may be resorted to when there is, first is reasonable doubt as to the validity of the claim against the taxpayer exists. So second is the financial position of the taxpayer demonstrates a clear inability to pay the assessed tax. So when we say abatement, by contrast, is a remedy that may resorted to when the tax or any portion thereof appears to be unjustly or excessively assessed. Next, the administration and the cost involved do not justify the collection of the amount. For the next slide, we have all criminal violations may be compromised except first, those already filed in the court. Second, those involving fraud, according to Section 204 of the NIRC. Next, financial incapacity is a ground allowed by law in order that the Commissioner of Internal Revenue may compromise a tax liability. So it is according to Section 204 NIRC. The conditions are, first, a written claim for refund is filed by the taxpayer with the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, according to Section 204 NIRC. The claim for refund must be categorical demand for reimbursement, according to Bermejo v. Collector of Internal Revenue 84 Phil 96, 1950. The claim for refund or tax credit must be filed with the Commissioner, or the suit or proceeding therefore must be commenced in court within 2 years from date of payment, the tax or penalty regardless of any supervening cautions. I would agree that the city is allowed to levy the tax on transfer of real property ownership according to Section 135 LGC. The capital gains tax, which is an income tax collected by the national government, is entirely different from the tax on sale or transfer imposed by the ordinance. The tax imposed by the ordinance not being in the nature of an income tax, so the imposition of the income tax by the national government will not preempt the tax sought to be imposed by the ordinance. I would further argue that the imposition by the national government of a tax will preempt local government units or the LGU only if there is non-provision under the local government code giving. So it is from Bulacan VCA GR number 126232, number 1998299 SCRA 44. So taxpayer remedies. First, pay the deficiency real property tax under protest. It is in the Section 256 LGC. Second, file the protest with the local treasurer. The protest in writing must be filed within 30 days from payment of the tax to the provincial, city, or municipal treasurer. In the case of the municipality within Metropolitan Manila area, who shall decide the protest within 60 days from the receipt, according to Section 252 LGC. Number third, appeal to the LBAA. If protest is denied or upon the lapse of the 60-day period for the treasurer to decide, the taxpayer may appeal to the LBAA within 60 days and the case decided within 120 days according to Section 226 and 229 LGC. Appeal to the CBAA. If not satisfied with the decision of the LBA, to the CBBA within 30 days from receipt of the copy of the decision. The following cases are under the exclusive appellate jurisdiction of the Court of the Tax Appeals. First, exclusive appellate jurisdiction to review by appeal. So second, decision of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue in cases involving disputed assessment. Excuse me. Refunds of internal revenue taxes, fees or other charges, penalties, and relation thereof to other matters arising under the NIRC or other laws administered by the BIR. Third, inaction of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue in cases involving disputed assessment refunds of internal revenue taxes, fees, or other charges, penalties in relation thereof, or other taxes arising under the NIRC or other laws administered by the NIRC provides a specific period of action in which inaction shall be deemed a denial. Next, number 4. Decisions, orders, or resolution. The following cases are under the exclusive appellate jurisdiction of the Court of Tax Appeals. Decisions, order, or resolutions of the RTC in local tax cases originally decided or resolved by them in exercise of their original or appellate jurisdiction. Number 5. Decisions of the Commissioner of Customs in cases involving liability of customs duties, fees, or other money charges, seizure, detention, or release of property affected, fines, forfeitures, or other penalties in relation thereto, or other matters arising under the customs law or other laws administered by the Bureau of Customs, and decisions of the Central Board of Assessment Appeal exercise of its appellate jurisdiction over cases involving assessment and taxation of real property originally decided provincial or city board of assessment appeals. Number 7, decisions of the Secretary of Finance on customs cases elevated to him, automatically for review from decisions of the Commissioner of Customs adverse to the government under Section 2315 of the Tariff and Customs Code, and decisions of the Secretary of Trade and Industry in the case of non-agricultural product, commodity, or article, and the Secretary of Agriculture in the case of agricultural products, commodity, of article involving dumping and countervailing duties under 301 and 302, respectively, of the Tariff and Customs safeguard measures under Republic Act number 8800 were either appeal the decision to impose or not impose said duties. And the next one is exclusive appellate jurisdiction in criminal offenses. So na siya ay mga under ang exclusive affiliate jurisdiction in criminal offenses. The first one is over appeals from the judgments, resolutions, or order of the regional trial courts in tax cases originally decided by them in their respective territorial jurisdiction. And B, over petitions for review of the judgments, resolutions, or orders of the regional trial courts in the exercise of their appellate jurisdiction over tax cases originally decided by the metropolitan trial courts, municipal trial courts, and municipal courts in the respective jurisdiction. So, excuse me. So, there is no double taxation if the law imposes two different taxes on the same income. So, business or property. First, the taxes herein are imposed on two different subject matters. The subject matter of the FWT final withholding tax is the passive income generated in the form of interest on deposit and yield on deposit substitutes, while the subject matter of the GRT or the gross receipts tax is the privilege of engaging in the business of banking. So, second, although both taxes are national in scope because they are imposed by the same taxing authority, the national government under the tax code and operate within the same Philippines jurisdiction for the same purpose, raising revenues, the taxing periods they affect are different. So the FWT is deducted the law on taxation withheld as soon as the income is earned and is paid after every calendar quarter in which is earned. On the other hand, the GRT is neither deducted nor withheld. So, but it is paid only after every, and I think, taxable quarter in which it is earned. According to the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue vs. BPI GR number 147375. So there is double taxation when one tax is imposed by the national government and the other is imposed by the local government unit. However, the 1987 Constitution does not forbid double taxation. In Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company of the Philippines, Inc., Municipality of Tanauan, in gross number L31156, February 27 in 1976, the Supreme Court declared that double taxation does not violate the uniformity rule, nor does it infringe the equal protection guarantee just because one tax is imposed by the national government and the other tax is levied by the local government unit. So, the BIR is liable under Section 269, which provides for the violations committed by the government enforcement officers. So, in paragraph of Section 269 provides that one of these violations is offering or undertaking to accomplish the file or submit a report or assessment on a taxpayer without the appropriate examination of the book of accounts or tax liability, or offering or undertaking to submit a report or assessment less than the amount due to the government for any consideration or compensation, or conspiring or colluding another or others to defraud the revenues or otherwise violate the provisions of this code. Under the revised penal code, the officers of the corporation shall be liable under Article 212 for corporation of public officials, while the BIR official is liable for direct bribery. Both my client and the BIR official will also be liable under Republic Act number 319 3019 or the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. So it also discussed the ordinance is valid. So the ordinance is not discriminatory because it complies with the rule of equality and uniformity in taxation. Equality and uniformity in local taxation means that all subjects or objects of taxation belonging to the same class shall be taxed at the same rate within the territorial jurisdiction of the taxing authority or local government unit, and not necessarily in comparison with other units although belonging to the same political subdivision. So, in fine, uniformity is required only within the geographical limits of the taxing authority. It is not the court to judge what particularly cities or municipalities should be empowered to impose the occupation tax. So, in this case, at bar, the imposition of the occupation tax to person exercising various provisions in the law of taxation, the city is well within the authority of City of Manila. Again, there's a violations that committed by the government to enforce
something that is being not in the guidelines of the taxations or the law. If they are undertaking the assessment of the government or the levied government or in the local government unit, there's a sections or the violations that which provides the committed that. So there's an also constitutions, thus the forbid double taxations and the uniformity rule of the infringe equal protection guarantee just because one tax is imposed, and nor the infringed of equal protection guarantee just because one tax is imposed by the national. So it means that in the taxation, it is very important to have tax to have a peaceful community. So there's also imposed regulation and the Republic Act that it is very important to pay our tax regardless regardless of the equal protections that guaranteed. So it is very important also to have um, um, organized taxations. So, for example, here in the Philippines, um, taxation is one of the things that the government affiliate. So the taxation must be applied because also a lot of like teachers, anything is paying taxes. So like for example, the land, the houses, the stores, anything has taxes. So everything that we pay, everything that we own, everything that we have has taxes, and it is also considered as taxes. So again, there is no double taxation if the law imposes two different taxes on the same income or business property. So it is privileged to of engaging in the business of banking, right? So the law of taxations withheld as soon as the income is earned. So as long as the income is earned, there's a taxation. But we always remember that every different businesses like it's a store or it's a land, it's a house, but in every, like for example, it's a store. In every store, there are different taxations also different. This it depends on your businesses. Like for example, you have business alcohol, cigarettes, junk foods, drinks. So every one of that has different varies of taxations. And aside from that, in land also, it doesn't mean that you have 1 hectare of land and you have the same taxes of the 330 hectares of land. So um, you have different taxes in terms of how many is your income. It depends upon your income. Like for example, you've income 3,000. That 3,000 you have to pay 1 peso, 1 peso taxes. So it depends on your income. It doesn't depend on how many is your income or how far is your income, how how lot is your income. So it depends. So again, taxation is one of the main aspects that we need to consider again. So on the other hand, there's an also a there's an also provides for the violations committed by the government enforcement officers. So offering of undertaking to accomplish, file, or submit a report or assessment of a taxpayer without the appropriate examination of the books of accounts or tax liability, or offering or undertaking to submit a report or assessment less than the amount due to the government for any consideration or compensation, or conspiring or colluding with another or others to defraud the revenues or other violate the provisions of this code, under the revised penal code, the officers for the corporation shall be liable under Article 2112 for corporation of public officials, while the BIR officials is liable for direct bribery. So both by client and the BIR official will also be liable under Republic Act. So Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. So actually, here in the Philippines, there's a lot of corruptions, right? Especially when it comes to money. So the government has like mga the money that is given by the public teachers or anything public under the government has want to pay that, but we the taxes also pay that. And aside from that corruptions, we also know that here in the Philippines, like for example, there's a program, financial assistance program for like that. So there's also a corruption with that. So we didn't know, but there's a corruption. So equality and uniformity in local taxation means that all subjects or objects of taxation belonging to the same class shall be taxed at the same rate. So it means that everyone, even you're rich or poor, has the same taxation. But when you're rich, of course, you have a lot of income, so you have the bigger taxation. And when you're poor, it depends upon your taxation. So uniformity is required only with the geographical limits of the taxing authority. So naa po dahil siya limit ang taxing authority. So it depends upon the impositions of yours. So also the ordinance is not discriminatory because it complies with the rule of equality and uniformity in taxation. So it means that there's no discrimination because everyone pay equally. Uniformity, it depends upon your income, it depends upon your taxations. So again, that's my discussions about taxation under general education, social sciences, and it talks about the Philippines, not just in the Philippines, but all over, in the Philippines taxation, because it is from the source one is in the Philippines taxation. So hope you understand my discussions, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for looking at my discussions, and I hope you gain something from it. You understand fully what is taxation. Again, taxation is equality and uniformity. There is no discriminatory when it comes to taxation here in the Philippines. So there's all subjects of taxations belonging to the same class shall be taxed at the same rate within the territorial jurisdiction of the taxing authority or local government unit, and not necessarily in comparison with other units. So, in taxation, di ay dapat equal and uniformity. So, bisag dato ka or even if you're rich or poor, dapat same og taxation but different same mo nga mo tax but it depends upon your income. So if dako kag income, if you have higher income, mas dako kag tax. If you have low income, mas kamay kag tax. But the point there is you have the same payment, you have the same taxation, not payment. You have different payment, nor you have to pay tax. So again, it is very important to pay tax, and also it is very important to but different payment. Again, that's it my discussion. So if If you have any clarifications, if you have any questions, suggestions, or anything, you please ask me for further discussions, or if you have any input, you could talk to me. That's all. So thank you. So I hope you already know what is taxation all about.